Bart Rademacher, and this is Prescription for Your Transformation, Real People, Real Conversations, and Real Success. Once again, talking to Jennifer Dalton, one of my favorite people on the planet because she's so awesome. She has so much love and care for others. You know, I experienced all of her care and wonderfulness at some of Tony Robbins' events where we were working really hard as part of the medical crew, and she would pamper us with, you know, all the hospitality things. And so it was awesome. And so I like to connect with food. You know, food is one of my favorite things. In fact, you know, what I often tell people that as a plastic surgeon, if I wasn't a plastic surgeon, I'd actually be a photographer, professional photographer. I love photography. But if I wasn't that, I'd be a chef. So in my world, you know, cooking is a big deal. I grew up in 5 different countries, you know, have an incredible experience. My palate has experienced so many different things, and I'm all for it. I mean, there's some things I don't like. I don't eat liver and kidneys and that kind of thing, but most things I love. And so I want to welcome Jennifer Dalton today. So she has her own podcast, her own series. What's it, Jennifer on the Chopping Block? Is that what it is?
Jenny from the Chopping Block, just
Jenny
kind of a spin on like J-Lo's. I didn't completely bite it, but I feel like, you know, it's just like reminds me to not, you know, like I want to remember where I come from, and I just like the way it sounds. So,
you know, I love it. And I think and it's key because it begins to express to you the fun that you're having with a process that I just found out that you're doing. And so share with us what it is that you're doing. And I'm excited because I think I got some really cool ideas that you might want to incorporate in making it even more wonderful.
beautiful. So you know, this all just kind of happened, and like I got the ideas as I went along, and I do love the concept of like healing through food. And after COVID started, I started cooking for 7 Franciscan brothers in a Catholic high school. And one of the brothers there, Seamus, he really inspired me with his diet and just like different things that he was doing. And that's a big part of like what I want to do to maybe help heal people is through food, and like maybe not be so into that like Western medicine mindset. So with that, you know, the interviews, I actually started like my whole like live video journey with recording videos with food and different recipes. I thought it would be like a cool thing to do to teach people how to make drinks or like, you know, little fun recipes. So I wanted to keep that brand and keep that thought process alive through the interviews in the self-development space, because that's like my new love affair I'm having. So my idea was during my interview to ask people what their favorite recipe is or food, and then I could cut that or chop that into the chopping block and incorporate that self-development and that food and maybe possibly a healthier version of that recipe, with, you know, some feel-good insights from the beautiful people I know.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. And I think, you know, we have such a deep connection with food in more ways than one, not just mentally and emotionally, but also physiologically. And what we consume actually creates our body. I mean, we are what we eat. I forget the French gastronomic author back in the 1800s who coined that phrase, you are what you eat. But also the Greeks understood that as well. I mean, the power of food as a healing force. And so, you know, with all the changes in processed food that we have today, it's probably very unhealthy and the cause or the root cause of many medical problems. But what I think is absolutely unique and wonderful about what you're doing is now you get to associate, you know, some of the gifts, the let's say the mental gifts that the mental transformative gifts that people have and their relationship with their favorite food. And so it's almost like you can incorporate, you know, their ideas, their identity as well with specific foods, and then showcase that, share that with others, and make it even more special so that, you know, we like to make meanings of things, right? We like to, you know, we are creatures of meaning. But we're also our brain also works symbolically. And so having, and I'm trying to figure out what my symbolism is with one of my favorite foods, which is satay. And
Amazing.
yeah, with peanut sauce. And I
Yeah.
guess it's because right away what comes to mind is, my relationship with my mother. And she used to make this all the time. And me being Dutch and she doing, great Indonesian food. And so it'd be cool to begin to wrap up, the wellness of the food itself. Like you said, make it even better than perhaps some of those recipes that you're getting, but then associating with some principles for transformation.
Gives me chills because like I think, and that's always what I try to get at when I'm like asking people, why is that your favorite food? Or like sometimes I don't, because if it's like pizza, I'm not gonna ask. But
So what have some of the people shared with you as to why they have their favorite food?
it's, I feel like it's always, I need to dig deeper, and I appreciate the inspiration to do so with you. But I feel like the people that tell me about those like home cooked meals, it always relates back to their childhood, or that like that feeling of comfort.
Mhm.
And it's funny because my dad's a chef, and that's part of the reason, that family brought me into this whole industry. But it's like, he's a very good chef, and I would try to get recipes from him, and he would always leave out ingredients, or make me watch, or he wouldn't know what he did or whatever, it was. But part of my inspiration is also like, what's the secret ingredient? And that would probably be the title of my book. It's like the secret ingredient is always love, and energy, and like I always
Right.
want to know like who's making that food. Like a lot of people in the industry are artists, like they pour their hearts into this stuff. They take pride in that. So yeah, it's really interesting. And I want to research more, because I find that a lot of people like the same types of food, for as their favorite, or like satay, like Indonesian, like I got a lot of pad thai, like why are those, like why, can you tell me more why that's your favorite? I know you said it like reminds you of your mom,
Well,
but
what
like
came to mind was, the relationship I had with my mom. And like you said, I mean, my childhood, and it was exciting. And Indonesian, for me, satay represented, what's called the rice table, which I know that you know of. And for others that are listening, rice table is usually like 12 dishes or 24 dishes, typically Indonesian, and they're small dishes. And so you had a huge variety. And so I guess me as a person, I love variety. I'm all out there. I mean, I'm multidimensional, as a good friend of mine coined me, and that makes sense. I'm not ADD. I don't know what that means, but multidimensional, I get that. And so I guess the satay represents the huge variety and the open space of life, and which I enjoy. But there's another food that would be my favorite. And if I were to be asked, and maybe this is a question you can always ask people, is that if you could only eat one kind of food, what would that be? And my answer is always salad. I would always eat salad. And I guess there, when you were talking about energy, I mean, that's raw food. That's raw energy. That's the nature of Earth coming in, and
all
I
right,
and I sense that too, right?
that's crazy. Wow, that's like I would eat salads too. I
No, I don't
love.
like beets. I must have had some traumatic experience with beets growing up.
Well, are you psychic?
I guess I am.
Because
Why?
no, that's so weird. My thought went straight to that. Like my grandmother, that's like one of my favorite things in the world is beets, because I used to sit, I could remember I could remember, just close my eyes and be there with her right now, just like sitting at the end of her table, and she would make like the German beet salad with beets and an onion and vinegar and oil, and a little seasoning. And as a kid, I don't know, I loved it. I thought, I was like, this is so different. And maybe it was the story she told me about like how she started eating it, or like my grandpa. But it's funny, when I started working with the brothers, I made that salad, and the head guy, like literally when he came in with his dish, like he looked like he was gonna cry, because he said he hadn't had that in years, and that was one of his mother's recipes. So it was like just a huge, I don't know the word for that. What's the word for that? It's love.
Yeah.
It's love.
And that's a one good place to begin to explore, because one of the work that I'm doing as well, I'm putting together a program in regenerative medicine. And within that, the context of teaching doctors, regenerative medicine, I'm also sharing with them the importance of general well-being and how to get access to that. And so I talk about a lot of different things. I talk about sleep, I talk about movement, I talk about inner balance. But a key point is, talk about nutrition and the associations that we make with the foods with our past and our experiences. And unless we are well dialed into the benefit of that, we may be, eating the wrong kinds of things. And so here again, this is important, because if we can create new associations, and the world of neuroassociative conditioning, right? When we can create new associations with the right kinds of foods, we can also transform our bodies. And with that, we can transform our lives. And so food is transformative. We can change our palate. We can change our tastes. And it's just, I think most people are so wired in the way that they've learned things over time, whether it's, the culture or society or whatever. But having something like this, what you're putting together and creating, opening that space for new relationships, a new love, a new energy, that could be really transformative.
I think it's just like, it would mean a lot to me, because I feel like people don't turn to their diet a lot of times. I don't know, it's like not common, or even like turn to it for like a good way.
Right.
Like Anthony William with the celery juice. And I don't know how you feel about all that, but it's just like, you don't look for those natural things that are the universe provides for us to heal. So I want to learn more. I want to learn, how I could better, help people within that, but I'm excited and it lights me up.
Another question you may want to ask people is this: okay, what's the food you just don't like, right?
Yeah. Why do you
And
hate liver?
yeah, yeah, exactly. And then discover and open up some of those relationships. And I'm going to share a story, and then as we wrap it up, but
I feel like that's a fun question always. I don't know why. It's always fun to ask people what they don't eat.
And do you ask that question in your interviews?
I have, or it comes up.
Right. I think it's really important, and interesting enough, it also, borders on the realm of allergies, but that's a whole different story. And allergies we can actually totally get rid of, by the way. But that's for another day.
Oh,
But
I'd love to talk about that. I worked at sleepaway camps and stuff.
Oh, is that right?
And like sheets of it. I'm like, how do they have all these allergies?
Right. It's crazy, and so much more today than ever before. But an interesting experience that I've had over the years, and and how a childhood experience, modifies, or affects how we show up today, is that I would go to the store, get super excited about all this fresh fruit and vegetables, and I buy a whole ton of it, only to have most of it rot in the fridge because I would never get to it. And because I decided I had a mental block somewhere, and I once discovered that I think this is what happened. And if my brothers are listening, it's all your fault, by the way. And that is, I think once, when I was a kid, maybe 3 years old or 2 years old, I kind of raided the fridge and took out all the fruit and all the vegetables and had my whole display on the ground. I mean, kids don't really care what's on the ground, right? We eat everything off the ground, right? And I think I got scolded or laughed at or shamed at by my brothers. And then that just stuck with me in my unconscious. And so I had to relearn, the experience of, okay, when I do go to the store, be smart at what I buy, right? And with the proactiveness is, okay, I'm only going to buy what it is that I know that I'm going to use. Mm-hmm. Because the block was, once I had it all in the fridge, I needed to stay in the fridge. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's crazy insightful. And it's just so important, because like I buy, like, I have it down to a science, like what I'm going to eat, like, but I see like now it's kind of amazing that it's inspired some of the people in the house here, like, to eat organic and to, they're getting a farm share now delivered, but, and I still buy my stuff. And I see that it goes bad sometimes. It's a farm share. And I'm like, it's like you have all this abundant, beautiful stuff, like, but you're still eating I don't know. It's just like I'm curious about it.
Yeah, well, the other part too, and I realize this too, is that, there's marketing geniuses and food geniuses out there, and they put all sorts of stuff in the food that really, tie into your addictive nature. And, it's sort of like that commercial, you just can't eat one chip. But with that, I really want to thank you, Jen. And how do people find you?
So you could find me on Facebook, Jennifer Dalton, or Jenny from the Chopping Block on Instagram.
Awesome.
That's where I post a lot of the stuff that I'm consuming and stuff that I love, and hope to grow in that space also.
Well, I definitely want a signed book from you because, like I said, I love cooking. I love, food. And
you're going to be in it. You need to sign it with me.
All right. I'll sign it with you. Done. Deal. All right. I'm Dr. Bart Rademacher, and this is Prescription for Your Transformation, real people, real conversations, a real success, and enlightened by Jen's story about how we can create new associations with food that would be absolutely transformative, not just physiologically, but also philosophically, emotionally, or energetically. Jenny, thank you so much.
Thank you, Bart. It's amazing.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Dr. Rademacher's Prescription for Your Transformation. Continue the path towards discovering your own authentic genius by tuning in next time for more real conversations with real people.